It's Wednesday. It's 2:30. So that means we get a chance to talk to Mike Lupica. You can consume Mike Lupica here on Wednesdays. You could read him in the Daily News, MLB.com, and in the many, many best-selling books that he authors as well. And he joins us now. Michael, how you doing?
Good, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. We have not gotten your take on that on the show yet. And the amazing thing about that, all of the so-called experts, the pontificators on radio, on TV, there's nobody that saw a blowout by the Eagles coming, and that's what makes it so great.
Michael, I will tell you this. There is an expression from tennis that covers what happened on Sunday night, and it is this. That's why they put the net up. If we knew how these games were going to go, we wouldn't care about sports nearly as much as we do. This is why they play the games. And even in a beatdown, that to me was why sports is great the other night. And for all of the talk from all of us going in about the three-peat and Saquon and this and that, okay, we weren't focusing on sometimes the simplest things, and that is that Vic Fangio had clearly decided that they couldn't block his guys up front. That they had a left tackle who couldn't block and a right guard who could block even less than the guard who went over to play tackle. And Michael, it was so similar. Obviously, it wasn't a beatdown in Glendale, Arizona, but on the first play of the Giants-Patriots, the 18-0 Patriots Super Bowl that night in Glendale, O.C. Umenyiora came around in, and he didn't get a sack, but he put Tom Brady on his butt, and he hit him hard. And it was the old Tyson line. Everybody's got to play until they get hit. Well, he got hit all night long, and he played better getting hit all night long than Patrick Mahomes did. And then this game turned out to be one we had actually seen before involving the Chiefs. And that is when Brady and the Bucs pretty much did to him what the Eagles did on Sunday night, which is make him run for your life. And I don't care who you are. When the roof is caving in on you time after time after time, then you become quite ordinary. You know what they made him look like on Sunday night for most of that game? Daniel Jones, when they weren't blocking for him.
You know, sometimes we actually make too much of the strategy in football, but two of the greatest quarterbacks that we'll ever see in our life, Mike, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. The way you solve them is you make them uncomfortable and you put pressure up the middle. It's that easy. Now, it's not that easy to do, but if you get that done, I don't care how great the quarterback is, he's going to have struggles. And the interesting thing, we were talking about, the GOAT debate, which I think is funny all the time, that, Mahomes is closing in on Brady. Brady lost 3 Super Bowls, Mike, and he never looked as bad as Mahomes has looked against Tampa Bay and against the Eagles. Never. Not even close. He had 1 interception in those 3 Super Bowl losses, and he got hit, as you mentioned, a lot in those games.
No, Mike, he's thrown in 2 stinkers, and guess what? As we used to say in high school, that's part of his permanent record now. And it's why we can't write these stories as much as we want to and have those GOAT debates until it's all over, Michael. And it makes us impatient sometimes. And he would have been declared the GOAT if he had won 3 Super Bowls in a row, and then he didn't come close. Mike, I was talking throughout the night to texting with my boys, and very early on, I said to one, I can't forget which one. I have so many of them, and I said, and I said, this reminds me so much of the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl in Jersey. Michael, after 5 minutes, I forget who I was sitting next to that night, I said, one team looks a lot bigger and a lot faster than the other team. The Broncos weren't nearly playing at the same speed as the Seahawks were that night, and that became this kind of beatdown. I know it was 40-22, but everybody knows it could have been 140-22 the other night. It was one of those things that happens, and we said, well, Saquon's got to have a big night for that. No, none of that happened. Vic Fangio had obviously determined they couldn't block his guys. He only had to rush 4. He could drop back 7. They could cover Kelsey. They could cover Worthy. They could cover everybody. And it's like a famous line from Dan Jenkins' novel, Semi-Tough. What could have happened did.
And the interesting thing is how the narrative shifts because of that one 60-minute game on Sunday. I'm not sure, Mike. I mean, people will jump me for this. I'm not sure if they get another Super Bowl for Kansas City. Travis Kelce's
no.
obviously, and then the Eagles. They're talking to Sal Palantonio yesterday, Mike. He thinks who's stopping the Eagles from going back to the Super Bowl next year?
Mike, how close are the Eagles to having won 3 Super Bowls in 7 years? They're that close to 3-7 and 2-3. Okay, they lost 38-35. And everybody's still focused on the holding call. No. They would have won that night if Jalen Hurts, who had the other game of his life in that game, hadn't dropped the ball and they hadn't gotten a gift touchdown way before the end of that game. Oh, no, the Eagles, I wrote about the Eagles the other day and Howie Roseman, Mike. I had a column in the Daily News either yesterday or the day before in which I said the only team that had a worse night than the Chiefs did was the Giants on Sunday night, because they saw what we all saw about how good the Eagles are. And they saw what the Eagles had done to the team that's also ahead of the Giants in the NFC East, the Commanders, in the NFC Championship game. I think Hurts is 26. Jalen Carter is 24. Saquon is 28. DeJean, the kid who had the pick 6, he's 22. They are set up. Howie Roseman is as brilliant an executive as there is in the National Football League right now, and he's as a dangerous an opponent for the Giants as Jalen Hurts or Saquon or any of those guys.
Well, if you're the Giants, you have to really be a little bit nervous now because you have the Eagles there for the long haul. The Commanders are only getting better. I'm sorry, people hate the Cowboys, but they do have a lot of talent. They have a new coach now. I don't know what he's going to be, but I don't see them going 7-10 again. Giants are looking up at that division, and they could be looking up in a long time. They don't even have a quarterback.
Mike, I really love the idea that this thing that's getting floated now that, maybe Matthew Stafford might be coming to the Giants because they hired his brother-in-law as assistant coach. And I started to think, okay, he's 37. Aaron Rodgers was 39. They hired Rodgers' buddy to come in as a coach before he got here. Gee, what could possibly go wrong with a scenario like that for the New York Giants? No, they've got to find a quarterback, Mike. I mean, the Eagles, look at the Eagles, by the way. Sometimes it is a death sentence in football if you are wrong with a quarterback you take 1, 2, or 3 in the draft. The Jets found out with Zach Wilson. The Eagles survived.
Yep.
Drafting Carson Wentz.
And signing him to a long-term deal.
And they have survived, and they won 1 Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, and now they won another with a kid Hurts who has got as much athletic heart as anybody playing that position right now. You look at the trajectory of his career, Michael. It's such a great story. He gets benched in the championship game for Alabama, okay? And he's doubted so wildly after the way the Eagles collapsed at the end of last season. And now he steps up like this, and he has had the brightest possible lights on him twice and has played the 2 games of his life so far.
All right, Michael, I come to you when I'm confused, okay? So
think of me as your life coach.
Yes,
Michael.
you give me clarity. So I need to know, why do the Jets have Aaron Rodgers fly 3,000 miles so they could tell him, you've got to attend all of our camps and you can't be on Pat McAfee? So do you believe that Rodgers said no to both of those, or the Jets didn't want him anyway and just said, you know what, let's make it uncomfortable, make him fly 6,000 miles round trip? What went on there?
I don't think that they just made him do that to punish him, because the people doing the punishing weren't there last season. Okay,
but they're working for Woody.
Right. So, maybe Woody wanted this. I don't know. I have a feeling that they wanted to say what they felt they needed to say to him to his face, which I can respect. But I never thought he was going to come back. I thought the Aaron that they need to be in charge here is not the Aaron who played quarterback. It's the Aaron who's going to be the head coach. They have to turn the page. Michael, I can't believe. I don't know if they would have had any contractual right to make him not go on McAfee's show. By the way, all props to Pat McAfee. It turned out to be great for him.
Oh,
okay,
great money spent.
No. Guess what, Mike? Rodgers turned out to be a much greater acquisition for Pat McAfee than he did for the New York Jets, okay? Rodgers gave much more value to Pat than he ever did to Woody Johnson, okay? But I can't believe that anybody ever thought that that was a good thing for the New York Jets. It was a distraction every single Tuesday. Every single Tuesday. And this became, what do they talk about, drama dumps? That's who Aaron Rodgers was. And it wasn't all his fault. Obviously, he didn't want to get hurt in his first game as a Jet. But he was just one drama dump after another, dump being the appropriate word.
All right, before we let you go, we talked about this yesterday, or last week. It wasn't official till Thursday night. Eli doesn't make the Hall of Fame. We find out he doesn't even make the final 10. We find out that the way the voting is going to happen over the next couple of years, he might not get in for a while because they don't usually put in two quarterbacks. Drew Brees is eligible, and then you can have all these other quarterbacks become eligible, like Ben Roethlisberger. What happened? Well, I mean, what do you think happened there?
I think it's Manning fatigue. I think they became obsessed with his lifetime win-loss record. I think they didn't put nearly enough weight on not only the two Super Bowls that he won, and the way he performed in them, and the way he took his team down the field twice in the heat against one of the greatest teams of all time, and won those games, Michael. And you know what? Drew Brees is going to be an automatic lock, okay? And I'm sorry. Drew Brees was lucky to win the one Super Bowl he won. He didn't win that Super Bowl as much as Peyton lost it by throwing an interception to Trace Porter, okay? Mm-hmm. And he's going to be a slam dunk. And listen, I'm prejudiced about Eli. I'm prejudiced about the Mannings. This is not some sort of great crime that he didn't get in. I'm aware that Joe Namath didn't get in until his third try. I forget. Michael Strahan was a lot, right? It took him a while, too. Yep. And Michael Strahan's one of the greatest players the Giants ever had. I just think I think the system that they do this is dopey. I think all the backroom stuff that goes on is ridiculous. And I now think that this is we went over this on multiple occasions on your show. This may take a while now, and it's a shame because it would have been a great thing to have it happen for him in New Orleans.
And also, I mean, the way the NFL runs it, right? It makes baseball seem as transparent as Kanye West's wife dress. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Michael, I wrote this the other day. It makes our system with the baseball writers look like church compared to the way they do it in pro football.
Yeah, it's skull and bones. I don't get it. Who chooses these 49 people? How do they get chosen? And it's like Supreme Court justices. They stay there forever.
It's true, Michael. What's that movie about the Pope? Conclave? Yes. It's the NFL version of Conclave.
Absolutely. Great stuff, Mike. We'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Okay, pal. Bye-bye.